Okay, cool. Well, how do you communicate on a daily basis? Either to friends, family, or work? I would venture to guess that it's via phone. Now, how do you have that phone? You have to have a manufacturer. Many people utilize Apple as their main manufacturer. As a student at the University of North Florida, I feel qualified to inform you about my chosen topic, Steve Jobs and Apple. Now, Steve Jobs was a titan of industry in Apple and also is what leader of one of America's top Fortune 100 companies. Now, what was the importance of Apple? Well, you can't talk about the company without talking about the foundation, the man. Steve Jobs was born in San Francisco, California in 1955, according to Daily. He was given up for adoption due to his birth parents' religious backgrounds, where he was later adopted in San Francisco by the Jobs. To fast forward in his life, he dropped out of college after one semester to work for Atari, according to Sterling. After he dropped out and was working for Atari, he joined something called the Homebrew Computer Club, according to the New Scientist Journal, where he met Steve Wozniak. According to MIT, Wozniak also attended college at UC Berkeley, where he did not finish with a degree. Now, they met and shared their joint love for creating computers. So, they decided to sell some of their prized possessions, Jobs a Volkswagen, and Wozniak an HP programmable computer, where they started to fund their computer building industry. They started with their first company called Apple IS in 1976 out of Jobs' family's garage. Later, they started with their second company, Apple II, which they founded on April Fool's Day in 1976, where they started with plastic casings and a video game card. Now, Wozniak left the company in 1985, but we should not overstate his value to the company. Wozniak's technological background in electrical engineering and computer science helped create Steve Jobs' company. In short, there was no Apple without Wozniak. Now, what led to Jobs' success within the business realm? He was Apple's CEO after the company went public in 1980, from 1980 to 1985, according to Steinworth. He was removed from power by his executive that he brought on, John Sculley. Now, John Sculley was brought in due to his executive expertise as a former Pepsi president. Why was he removed from power? Likely because he was a temperamental and sometimes unwilling to compromise leader. He was also described as unwilling to provide equal opportunity for those within his company to access his shares. After he was removed from power, he went on to acquire Pixar, and he also started a new company called Next. To fast forward into his life, his company Next was bought out by Apple in 1996 because under Scully's leadership in Apple, he led the company close to financial ruin. In 1997, the market shares were down by 3.8%, which for $1 billion company is quite a lot of money. So, Jobs was brought back on as CEO. Jobs' success and leadership could be characterized as either a transformative leader or as a charismatic leader. Transformative leadership, as characterized by James McGregor Burns and characterized by KK and Kumar, is somebody that embodies not only personal growth, but also growth on an organizational level. He emphasized both. His implementation of such could be described as utilizing the five main characteristics: being creative, inspiring, visionary, being empowering, and being passionate. Now, it was no doubt that Jobs was both creative and a visionary and passionate. Where he fell short often was being inspiring and empowering. He was better characterized as a charismatic leader. According to Sharma Grant, his use of narration was his better and true value to Apple. His marketing skills was what his true value was. His ability to sell not only his technology, but the lifestyle that he was trying to create behind his technology. Now, was his legacy just his technology and his animation company, or was it bigger than that? Well, if you were to look at the numbers, his market value was roughly $20 billion. According to an applied economics letters and study done, his death in 2011, even though there was an established CEO at the time, caused the company's stocks to drop by 5.76%, which for a $350 billion company was roughly $20 billion. One could also argue that his legacy was bigger than that. Jobs lost his 8-year battle with pancreatic cancer in 2011, but he was diagnosed in 2004, and according to a study done by Communication Research Reports, his diagnosis caused the American public to look into pancreatic cancer. This study reported that roughly 13.2% of the participants spoke to loved ones, and 4.5% of participants looked for information and prevention information about pancreatic cancer. And if this study was meant to mimic the American public, if 4.5% of Americans looked into prevention of pancreatic cancer, that's quite a lot of awareness that he brought towards one of America's biggest medical crises of this time, cancer. Comprehensively, Steve Jobs was bigger than just his companies. His legacy brought not only market value, but also awareness to one of our biggest medical crises of this time. I hope I've given you a little bit of insight into one of America's top founders of a Fortune 100 company and given you a little bit of information about the man that took the bite out of the apple. Thank you.